Welcome back to Don't Bother Wearing Seatbelts. On this special episode, we're joined by one of the most influential and creative figures connected to the Elephant Six universe, Michael Turner. As the founder of Happy Happy Birthday to Me Records, Michael has championed countless Elephant Six artists and helped introduce an incredible wave of independent music to the world. He's also the driving force behind the legendary Athens Popfest, where so many unforgettable Elephant Six performances and reunions have taken place over the years. In this epic two-part conversation, Michael takes us behind the scenes of Happy Happy Birthday to Me, shares stories from the early days of the label, reflects on the Athens music community, and offers a fascinating look at the artists, friendships, and moments that help shape one of indie rock's most beloved musical families.
Because when I did that first singles club, I only did 500 because I kind of did the math of like that is 6,000 record sleeves that you're going to have to make in 1 year.
Hi, Mike.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Congratulations on the new store.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is really exciting. What's the name of the store again?
Wax Galaxy. Yeah.
And
That
what
is very cool.
town is it in exactly?
Milledgeville, Georgia. It was the original capital of Georgia ages ago. I don't know the years. But yeah, it's like right above Macon. It's like an hour above Macon and an hour and a half southeast of Athens. So it's pretty well located, like between Augusta, Savannah. Like we're right in the middle of the stuff.
So you figure about like 2 hours from Atlanta. Does
Yeah.
that sound about right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on what part of Atlanta. Like Atlanta's so sprawling now
Right.
that like
Yeah.
you can kind of consider some of it like it's like maybe 90 minutes, but if you're just getting into it. But like middle of Atlanta, about 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I mean, of course, you have so many years of experience at, one of the greatest record stores in the country, Walk So, and then all your other hats that you've worn over the years. I'm sure it's exciting and probably very exciting for that town to have a record store there. Was there one before?
I mean there have been, but I don't think there has been a record store in over a decade
Oh,
or
wow.
more. Like maybe 15 years or something.
Wow.
I mean, because like CDs, I mean, Napster kind of killed the whole CD thing,
Indeed.
and then a lot of the CD stores that would have been everywhere around the country um, didn't see the switch to vinyl. So
Yeah.
like a lot of the kind of stores you would find in smaller college towns and like I mean the place I live, I mean the population's only like 40,000. Like
Yeah.
in the county, so it's not huge, but there's two colleges here. So
Now, is that where you live? You live in Millage?
yeah, I live in Milledgeville. Yeah,
Milledgeville. My bad.
yeah.
Do you see, is there like a scene there, like a music scene with the colleges and stuff?
I mean, there's people in bands and stuff, and like I mean, there's not really like a venue scene. There's like bars that have stages, coffee shop that has a stage and PA. But there's like a house show scene with the college kids and stuff. But uh, there's not really been an organized thing happening or that kind of stuff. Like I guess like maybe now that the shop's here, like in the next few years, I would expect a scene to grow out of it because there's more of that resource. Um, I don't know, kind of like that idea that like, oh, they could come into the shop and be like, how does this work?
Yeah.
Right.
Like that
There's a hub of infrastructure and somebody who has been in awesome scenes and helped grow scenes and
Yeah.
helped grow scenes across the country. So that they're lucky. They might
But
not know it yet, but they're lucky.
yeah, I kind of keep that part quiet. So
Not after this, man. This podcast is gonna blow it
yeah,
up. Look out,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like, I don't know. Like there was a point at Wuck Street where being behind the counter and being there so many, like sometimes 50 hours a week, just because I don't know, like I was always at the store. Uh, it became kind of like the Athens uh, courtesy desk of of like, how do you get an overseas work visa? How do you book a tour? How do
Yep.
you how do you get your band written about? How do you make a record? And
I imagine it got a
yeah,
little exhausting at some point.
yeah. I mean, it definitely did. So it's like I haven't really thrown that out there here. I'm kind of like, I mean, I don't know, like I don't even tell people I have a label at the store or
Oh
anything.
wow.
So it's kind of like I can have records there, but I don't. Um, I don't really put myself in the things that I do
I
anymore.
gotcha.
I kind of like, I like the things that I'm doing just to be the thing, and I'm something else. So I just, I don't know, like my amount of time and energy, I just don't have that same time and energy.
No, I
So
love that.
it's very, I'm very protective of that. Like I'm cool to give people some advice, but I can't do it for you, or
Right.
like that kind of thing. And I used to do that a lot in Athens, and yeah, it did not do well for me in time. Where you kind of looking back, it's like, wow, I gave up so much of my life doing stuff that had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I could have been doing stuff for myself, or doing stuff with my, like my partner, or, you know, um, or just like, I don't know, just like things that would directly I would be involved in, instead of like spending so much time on other people's stuff that,
I
that kind of thing.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I will say from an outsider, but also somebody who's probably uh, definitely has benefited from your of willingness to give yourself to art, of the amount of lives that you've touched and friendships that were blossomed through the work that you were doing, of is unimaginable. So I
Right.
not to get emotional about it or something, but of I understand how you feel about of giving oneself up for the greater good of art and community. And I think that you, if you were, if nobody ever heard from you again, uh,
You'd still get the lifetime achievement award.
that's what would be
Yes.
remembered. So well done on that. So.
Well, thank you. It's weird. Like, it's been a thing. I don't know, like after, I don't know, like since COVID and that kind of like reset of everything. Um, like it's definitely been like a thought, like that kind of thought process is like shifted, where before that I didn't really think of that kind of amount of labor and time. But like after both my parents passed, like time definitely shifted in my head to where
Mm.
it's just like, and then kind of realizing like, oh, whoa, like, yeah, you're getting up there, dude.
Yeah,
So,
that's finite.
yeah, and it's like, oh, there's only so much of it. And so it's kind of wild, but also, I like, like, I mean, not to throw it all personal, and you guys could edit part. I mean, do y'all edit anything or not?
We edit the shit out of it.
Okay,
So yeah,
cool.
don't
Okay,
worry
all right,
about.
cool. Because
There
like
could
this,
be pauses. You can have
okay,
run-on sentences. It doesn't matter. We'll
okay, all
we'll
right. Well,
find the gold.
this is just kind of maybe for the group, but maybe not for the thing.
Gotcha.
But like, like I had kind of a late diagnosis for autism and didn't know it. And so like so many of the years, like all the stuff I was doing where people are like, how could you do all this stuff? Like I was just autistic, didn't know it. So like in
Yeah.
my brain, Like it was kind of like, oh, everybody could do this stuff. Everybody's just kind of, or to me, I felt like anyone who wasn't doing that stuff, like, oh, you're just not, like, you're just kind of lazy or something, or like you're just, not, I don't know, like,
Which there could be truth to that too.
you know, but it was, like I didn't realize it. And like then there's a point where you kind of live a masked kind of life where like I suppressed all the kind of things where you would have like stimming where you just kind of like have I don't know like jittery movements or forcing
Yeah.
yourself to look people in the eye when you talk. Um,
I have a trick for that actually because I am autistic and I have a lot of bodily quirks that I've worked for a long time to try to control
mhm.
so that I can be in public without feeling ashamed at all times.
Yeah, well, that's what's weird is I suppressed all of those forever,
Yeah.
and got rid of any of the like kind of ticks or weird movements or pacing,
Yeah.
eye contact, um, just so many things, and it was like growing up, kind of like condensing all that stuff down, creating tricks to not do that. But
Yeah.
I didn't realize that by doing that, it's like living a false life.
It is. It's what we're calling masking now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that masking caught up with me in 2017. Well, it was catching up with me a few different times where I would have breakdowns, but not burnout. But in 2017, I hit burnout and didn't know it and just kind of kept doing all the same stuff and then wondering why I wasn't able to get everything done that I used to do.
And why life was all of a sudden misery.
Yeah, yeah. And so it really hit. And then, yeah, because I was still doing like, still working at the store, like at Wuxtree. I was still, and this is all still edited out because this isn't about the CD, but I just kind of want to give you a background because like I might make pauses and that
Well,
that would give you
I'll
that.
ask
Yeah.
you this: like,
Yeah.
is there anything in here in what you've said that you specifically want us to cut out because you don't want it to be heard by other people?
I mean,
Otherwise,
just the autism stuff in general, like here, like I'm just giving you the head, like kind of like, there's a point in this, but I might forget, and when talking about stuff, I might reference something in a way that's like, oh, why is that? Anyway, I tried to like go through all the tracks on here and think of any kind of questions you might have, and then being like, how am I going to answer that?
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, but I
So,
was
but
going to say that the trick that I have
yeah,
for making eye contact,
yeah.
I wear my glasses low on my nose, and I have really bad eyesight. So I can make eye contact with anybody because I can't fucking see you.
Ah. Yeah, well, I've still got good eyesight. I can't do that trick,
No.
but yeah, but that's a good one.
Next time I'm with you, Matthew, I'm just gonna be flicking you off the whole time.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
That's totally fine. I won't know.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. So yeah, like that stuff happened, and it kind of caught up, and it's like it's like I can't do all that, but I was like, I'm doing publicity work. I'm tour managing bands in Europe. I'm I'm running a record store for somebody else, doing a music festival, a label, and it's just like, and trying to have like a relationship, and yeah, it all like was kind of like, oh, you can't do everything. So
Right.
yeah, it all caught up.
And that doesn't even cover all the things that you were doing, let's say 25 years ago, because you were doing all those things, or pretty much all those things as well, but also like running a zine
Yeah.
and booking tours and booking shows and hosting bands at your house and like the amount of things and work that you were doing because I'm pretty lucky, the listeners might not know this, but like I'm pretty lucky that I got to kind of live in your house for a week and see like
That's
what
right.
what of what
Yeah.
that factory of your mind of can do. And it was fascinating to me because it was like me being an early bird, a person who like wakes up at 6 in the morning. I was not ready for the Athens like, oh
Oh
no,
yeah.
we stay up until about then. And then we when we wake up at noon again and start, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like all the things that you were accomplishing in the late 90s, early 2000s, from running a zine to a record label, of printing things, making art, of putting on a music festival, working at a great record store, like of tour managing, kind of booking tours, publicity, all of it. It was just like, to me, it was a great education, and it made me believe that like you need to kind of do all of these things as a person who's in, that's one thing I took back to the Central Iowa music scene. It's like you need to wear all the hats so you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
how difficult they all are. Before you get a booking agent or before you get on a record label, you should start your own record label or book somebody else's tour, because you're not going to know how difficult it is until you've done those things.
Yeah.
And you were doing that with like a festival, and like it was just like it made me realize that you need to wear the hats. And I think that was very inspiring. And I think for people who are just know of you as a record label person or a person who put on a festival or a guy who worked at a record store, they are unaware of all the things that you were doing for not just and we're not just talking like one or two little bands. We're like talking about like a lot of bands putting together really cool compilations, putting together a really fascinating zine, and a really amazing music festival. So
Well,
I commend you.
Speaking of the compilations, I do want to point out that we are here to discuss Happy Birthday to Me, Volume 1, which was a comp that you put out. What year did you put that out?
1999.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
How long ago that is. And that was, I listened to it again last night, and I was again blown away by how fucking amazing that comp is.
It's funny. It doesn't feel that long.
I know.
For me, I don't know, like a lot of this stuff. Well, I have like time blindness in general, where I constantly am saying like, oh, like the other day, and then somebody will be like, that was like a year ago, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so.
Or like
So,
15 years ago.
yeah, yeah, I'm really bad. I'm really, really bad with time, and stuff. So yeah, like I'm always like, oh, it'll take me like 15 minutes, and it takes like an hour. Or I'll do this real quick. I'll be right there. And like so, I've had to learn like over time, like, oh yeah, other people's time means something. You really should really be considerate with it. So it's like I have to think of my time and other people's time, where it's like, oh, if it doesn't matter to anyone else, like,
Right.
yeah, that is only a little bit of time. But if it matters to someone else, it really needs to be more exact. Yeah. But yeah. But thank you. But thank you, Patrick, for that. I think a lot of that stuff was just one, wearing all those hats was because I would find out how much money it cost to do stuff and be like, oh, I can just do that. And two, growing up doing BMX forever, there was no fear of failure, because like that sport is like doing stuff a million times to
Mhm.
get a trick. So there's like this thing where like like growing up in like Florida doing BMX, like you built your own ramps, you dug your own dirt jumps, you did all your stuff, you like it just was that kind of, and so like when getting into music, like the aspect of doing all that stuff is like I'd be like, oh, like, hey, let's do a festival. Have you ever done a festival? No, but it can't be hard.
You were
And then you just
already
do it.
accustomed to having to iterate on every single thing that you did, having to do it over and over and over again, and just learning from each iteration.
Yeah, yeah, like pretty much you just learn from every mistake over and over. Like
Right.
it doesn't matter if you fail a few times or 100 times. Like just keep doing it, and you'll
Yeah.
figure it out. And if you don't, you at least tried, and that's more than people who get afraid to not do anything. So like that was kind of like the aspect of everything where it was just like, I mean, this compilation, this label, like the label was never supposed to even happen. Like this compilation was me ending a zine that I didn't want to write anymore.
Okay.
So and then it took off. And then I'm kind of like, well, and I had fun doing the compilation. So then it was like, hey, maybe I should do this thing because I'm not really enjoying the zine. So maybe I should try this other thing. But then, like, once the zine got readership, a bigger readership because of the compilation that came with it. Oh, so like just a background real quick. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, because not everybody might know that story. I had been doing this zine, The Bee's Knees, for 4 years at the time, or five years at the time. And I started the zine because I was like one of those AP credit nerds from high school that was taking AP classes so they could have college credit because I didn't want to be in college very long. Uh,
Sure.
so I took a ton of AP courses my senior year, which then also allowed me to go to college at night at this community college in my town. And I was kind of like, hey, I can go ahead and get a bunch of free college and not have to pay for it. So again, it's a thrift thing. So
Yeah.
so I was doing that. There was a college radio station, and since I was a student, even though I was in high school, I got to DJ at the college radio station. And being obsessed with music and BMX, like part of it was a thing where I could be at this radio station and I got access to all these records to listen to ahead of time. And that was like a huge deal to me. So, but then when I got into my post high school college courses, I got into an art school, and that art school didn't have a radio station. And at this point, I got to know all these record labels because a lot of the students who were at that college station were kind of taking it as like a credit, but didn't really see how cool it was.
Yeah.
I felt like so I was the high school kid that was constantly there when I wasn't riding my bike and doing BMX stuff. I was at that college station, like dealing with the CMJ charts, like except like, and then during the day when I was at school, I would bring stacks of CDs with me. And my senior year of high school, most of my classes were kind of like I was taking a ton of art classes, but I also had these AP classes um, where I was taking some AP classes that were in like the syllabus, but like my high school didn't really have a class to offer them. So I was kind of doing like an independent study and just sitting in the art room, like doing my own curriculum. Um,
Okay.
and I would just keep my headphones on, and I would also be reviewing CDs to make sure there's not curse words on songs. So that way, when they went
Oh
into
my
the
God.
station, that way when they went into the station, they would be marked so they wouldn't get played, so we wouldn't have FCC violations.
And this was still when you were in high school.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing this like like part of my junior year and my senior year. And so because I found out like, oh wait, there's all these classes that are in the high school, like the county syllabus, like high school syllabus of what's available, but they didn't have enough students and to teach some of these courses. So I would get different teachers to be like, hey, I want to take this advanced course. Can I take it with this course, but you just give me this curriculum and I'll just do the work. And they were like, and a lot of the teachers, because I wasn't like a student that was in, like trouble to deal with, like I was a pretty like quiet kid.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like, yeah, sure. So I just would be in this class, but I wouldn't be in the class with the class. I would just be kind of working on my own independent study of stuff.
Hey, Mike, just for the listener, what years would this have been?
Uh,
94, 93?
90, part of 90, let's see. I graduated in 94, said my senior year, 93, 94, and part of my junior year. So it would have been 90, yeah, the beginning of 93 through
And
94.
what a time to be exposed for the first time to like college radio.
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't know there was a college radio station until I got in the college, and I was like walking by the building, and and I was and then I went into like the commons area, and they had it playing, and I was like, wow, this, like, whatever radio station's playing is really cool, and they had like a bunch of cool stuff, and I was like, and then I asked one of the people, I was like, what station? They're like, oh, it's the college station here.
Is
But
this
that
in Florida? Is
yeah,
this
Panama City.
okay?
Yeah. So, and then I walked over there and asked, like, how do you get to DJ? And like somebody was just like, well, you got to be a student. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of am,
I got that part covered.
yeah. And it's just like, but I was like, I'm in high school. So, and they told me like, oh, you have to get like a FCC license. And I was like, how do you do that? You got to learn this stuff. Like, you got to learn these things and then just fill out a form. And I think it was like a few bucks or something. And so I did that. And then pretty much, I had to go and present like a radio show. Like, what radio show would you want to do? And so, um, yeah, I just was kind of like, I was really into like kind of British indie stuff at the time. And it's kind of pre Britpop, but like the show I did was like kind of like an early thing, like an early, kind of Britpoppy show or whatever.
Well, what are we talking? Are we talking like Spaceman 3?
Yeah, it was stuff like, I mean, the earlier stuff like that. It's like like Spiritualized, Spaceman 3, just, but also like just Brit bands like, like Robin Hitchcock or,
Yep.
stuff like that. And, I mean, because it was like got pre Oasis, but Blur was still a thing before,
Yes.
but I like the Sundays and stuff. So, you know, so I did a radio show like Saturdays, but like I didn't want to lose my BMX time, which was like in the afternoons, because like I would do my work all day, and I would do all the work and homework during the day in high school. So when I got home, I could ride my bike until I went to bed. Um, and then, like on the weekends I would ride, but like to do a radio show, they're like, oh, well, the only time I could get a radio show was like Saturday night, because no college kid wanted to be stuck there on a Saturday night, but I was like a high school kid. So
Yep.
I didn't care. I was kind of like, what am I gonna do? You know.
Well, not only that, I mean, that's goddamn exciting, man. You're
Yeah.
you're a senior in high school and you're running your own radio show.
Yeah. I mean, but I didn't know that. I mean, I was kind of like, but like the thing that happened was when I got into art school, they didn't have a radio station. Um, and so I was telling one of the label folks, and I can't remember her name, but she was like the label rep for Bar None Records. And she was like, you should just do a zine and review records, and that way all these labels that you like will just send you free promos if you do a zine.
Yep.
And I was like, and I did a BMX zine at the time. And so I was kind of like, oh, I never even thought of that. Like I was, like I was doing BMX zines and stuff. So I ended up doing like a music zine. I was like, oh, I'm really into like mostly the Brit stuff, but I'll write about, US indie stuff too. So like a lot of labels, like real early on, like Bar None, bought an ad to help me pay for it, because I was like, how do I pay for this? And she's like, oh, you can sell ads. And like so I learned how to do like early paste up for, like I was doing paste up like I did with my BMX scene, but they would send me the artwork and then I would paste that in, and I'd go to shows and do show reviews and stuff, and do interviews. Like the first issue, I think I interviewed the Tender Sticks were like my first interview. So yeah. And like the second issue, Suede was my big interview. So yeah.
That's the cool thing about Bee's Knees from when I saw it, and I still have copies of.
Oh, it's a horrible zine. Don't read it. It's horrible because I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to write then.
Yeah, but I mean, it got to be the point where you were printing it like a magazine. Like this. This wasn't some like like little tiny zine that you might get at a punk rock show or something. Like it became like a thing where that was like pages and pages long with lots of reviews and cool feature stories and in the
Yeah.
early 2000s or whatever, it was like I mean, it was I would think it was like a legit almost like magazine to the
Oh,
point.
it totally wasn't. But thank you. It was like I made the mistake where I
We're
told,
interviewing bands like big like bands that were like my favorite bands in the world. So to me it was like a thing, you know.
but see, that's the thing. Like some of the bands, it's just like bands I like and I thought were cool, but like, big bands to me were like really big bands. So I'm kind of like, oh, I'm just like, this band I can go see at a club that I could walk up to, not like a band that would be at an arena or a civic center or something, where you can't like there's no access. So like, it I mean, they're
In the moment, you weren't experiencing how cool it is for
no,
this to
not
be happening.
no. I mean, it was cool. Like to me, it was cool to get free CDs.
Sure.
I mean, and it was cool, like to be able to talk to bands that I really got into and stuff. But like, I don't think a lot of the time because I was living like I lived in Memphis, Tennessee for a while. And it kind of started when I lived in Memphis. Like I started working on the zine first when I lived there, and then I moved back to Panama City, just because I kind of got my first real year of college student loan. Uh, like how much I owed, and I was like, I'm paying how much for an English class at an art school? Like I should go back to that community college, take all my book courses, then go back to art school and take all the studio courses because like I mean, like it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of this thing where I was like it felt dumb to pay so much money
No, that's
for
incredibly smart,
something.
man.
Also I was paying for my own college. I wouldn't let my parents pay for anything. I didn't ever want to have that thing where it's like, well, we paid your college. I'm like, no, you didn't. So so kind of, I had that happen a lot with bikes. Like you can't do that. We bought those bikes. And I'm kind of like, okay. I learned how. And quickly, I learned like, yeah, I don't
I
really
see.
want to owe anybody anything ever.
Yeah.
So that kind of went that way. Um, but like, and so I came back to Florida and then and just was working on it there. Um, but like at that point, I made the mistake of telling any label like, "Hey, if you send me a CD, I'll review it," and that worked when I was getting like 40 CDs in an issue.
Good Lord.
But it got to the point I was getting like 200 CDs like every 6 months.
Well, and that's
Uh,
and that goes back to the flip of the industry too, because when, in the 90s when it wasn't so much vinyl or cassette and CDs became so inexpensive,
Mhm.
you you were inundated with indie rock bands, labels, a lot of
Oh
labels
yeah.
putting out CDs, and then that's probably where you kind of clicked in too. It's like, well, why the hell can't I just put out CDs?
Well, that was the thing with the zine. I was kind of just I was really tired. Well, at that point, there was the time I did this the label or like the CD comp that came with this the zine. I had already been at that point when I went back to Florida. I ended up getting a job at a Blockbuster Music. So it was like my first record store job, like real record store job. Um, and I instantly realized just how removed music was from corporate retail,
yeah.
and it had nothing to do with music at all. Like they could have been selling anything. It didn't really matter.
Nope.
And but I was working at a store, and my job was like, oh, you're kind of the alternative indie guy. But that store almost exclusively sold hip hop and R&B. So it was kind of funny because like the amount of stuff I dealt with brought in maybe 5% of the sales.
Sure.
And like for the most part, we were like mostly top 40 hip hop and R&B store.
Where was this at the time?
It's Panama City still, like when I moved back home,
Gotcha.
or moved back to Florida. So yeah, like I did that for about 3 years. Um, and at that time the zine was really building up, because I was starting to find more contacts, and I would send copies and be like, hey, I reviewed this record in there that hadn't, and I found out who the PR person was, or who the most of those, and at the time most of these labels had their own in-house PR. PR hadn't developed in PR firms doing this work or farming it out yet as much. I mean, there were some, um, but like that's where it just kept building, and it got to the point I had other people. I'm like, I can't review all this stuff. So then I'm giving friends stacks of CDs. I'm like, yeah, just write a review. And like, what do you mean write a review? And I'm like, well, say what you think about it.
Right.
I'm not a writer. Do you like music? Yeah, well, talk about it. Like, I don't know. It's just this kind of weird thing of like, you don't have to know how to do any of this stuff to do it.
No, but I think that
Beauty
you
of
may
it.
be one of the most driven people I've ever spoken to, Mike. Like every couple of minutes, you keep mentioning something else that you had going on when you were 17 years old. That I'm like, I was just smoking pot and chasing girls, man.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. I mean, that's a good thing to do too. But I think what you hit on there, Mike, is like it's like why indie rock works, or it's why anybody starts a band, like it's like that's the thing that like is inspiring to me, is like even if you don't know how to do it, or you don't feel like you're a writer, or you don't feel like you're a record label exec, or you don't know how to put on a festival, or you don't even know how to play guitar, but you do it because you want to, and then it kind of like you figure it out as you go. I mean, I think that there would be no Velvet Underground if they didn't figure it out as they go, or Pavement,
Right.
any of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or the bands that we talk about on here, like Olivia Tremor Control, or the Apples and Stereo or something. It's like, okay, Robert Schneider, he didn't know how to record, but he went and rented a 4-track and
yeah,
so figured it out. You know what I mean? It's just like you just
Where punk rock comes from.
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, like, so I think that you embody that in all these different areas. So I think that's so cool that you're, and then the point that you make about being like, well, it's getting overwhelming. So how do I make this work? Well, you involve other people. You
yeah,
build a community around it, which I think is really cool. So
yeah. Well, also it's kind of the weird thing because like at the time in Panama City, like I worked at the record store, but at the same time I didn't really know people like as a music scene. I mean, there's music that happened there, but it definitely, none of the stuff that was happening there had any ambition outside of there. So there wasn't anyone to talk about doing any of this stuff with.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I don't know. A lot of times doing this stuff, it just kind of felt like, oh yeah, this is this thing I do. I mean, but also this also comes into, oh my god, I forgot about this part. Like a lot of this stuff starts because while in high school, I figure out how to hook my well, I mean, I knew how to do my TV and VCR because I was like making BMX videos with friends, and we would go and make BMX videos and then like share them with other people around the country who had their own scene BMX videos. Um, and so a lot of times I figured out how to hook my stereo to my VCR, and I could edit the tapes using two VCRs and then add the stereo in and put like music on top of it. So I was doing that, but then I realized I'm like, wait, I can tape stuff off television when bands play like Tonight Show or Conan O'Brien or on like a MTV's Unplugged, and I would just hook my stereo up to the TV and record. And like I'm like, yeah, I've already, when it was kind of funny because like it was like, oh, Nirvana's Unplugged, like yeah, I had it on a tape, but when it came out, because I was like, yeah, I taped it.
Right.
And I made my own artwork for the tape. And then like a friend of mine at school was like, "Where'd you get that?" And I was like, "Oh, I made it." He's like, "How can you make one for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, $5." So and I'm kind of like, so it's like, it took me time and I had to go buy the tape and I had to dub
Right.
it, so then I started doing that with just everything. And when I was at the radio station, I would make like compilation tapes because I had all the B-sides. And I'm like, oh, I've got a whole B-side, before everybody was doing expanded editions of stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've got all the, here's all the Susie and the Banshees B-sides. It's 3 cassettes, and I'd dub them for friends and stuff like that. Or it'd be like bigger bands for that kind of stuff. But when I was in the radio station, I found all these cool concert CDs that were like supposed to be for broadcast, and I would dub those and make little covers for them and share them with friends. And then I got into sharing bootleg tapes, not selling, but like, kind of the tape world. And so I was sharing tapes as well. Which is kind of the reason I got the job at Blockbuster, because I was buying so many blank VHS tapes and blank odd cassette tapes. I had to figure out a way to save money.
You became a known quantity there.
Yeah, and I was like, so I was buying them in bulks. So because I also, as Britpop was happening, I was the guy in the U.S. that like I had VCRs at so many. Like I had a VCR, my parents' house, my place. I had my sister's VCR, and I would get like the TV guide and see what all was coming up. And I'd made sure all the stuff was programmed so I could tape in case there was like, because I mean, my parents lived only like a mile from my sister and me and stuff. So, you know, like I would, if stuff, in case like there was a show on one network, like if Arsenio had a guest at this time and Carson had a guest at this time, I was like, oh, well, I've got to get that Lemonheads performance, but the Sugar Cubes are on Arsenio. So, and then I would compile the tapes and make like my own VHS compilation of all the different bands. And I was trading tapes with people forever. So that's how I ended up getting the record store job, because I needed a way to get, because I was already getting CDs for free doing the zine. So I needed a way to get tapes and VHS tapes for cheaper so I could dub and trade. And the zine, I was doing bootleg or tape trading. I shouldn't say bootleg, tape trading. I was doing that so much. And then also still riding BMX and working at the record store, going to college, doing the zine. But one of the things had to go. So I kind of quit tape trading. And then I was kind of like, why am I even here at this record store that much? Because like, the discount I was getting for new records wasn't real. I'm kind of like, I could get them
15%.
Yeah, it's like 50. I'm kind of like, if I just wrote that label, I can just get the record for free if I write a review for it.
Right.
So I, and at that time eBay started. And
oh yeah.
And I at that point I had such a huge record collection, and I would trade videotapes, like, and it'd be like, oh, here's every PJ Harvey performance on US television, and then somebody's like, well, I don't have anything to trade, but I got this Joy Division bootleg I can trade you on vinyl. And I'm like, oh, and then I got it, and I'm like, and when eBay first started, I was like, oh, I already have this show and I don't really need the vinyl of it. And I threw it up on eBay, and somebody paid like $150 for it. And this is like in the time when eBay, oh yeah, I was also trading. I got into eBay early because I was like a Pez nerd, and that's how eBay started, was people trading Pez when it was like a message board more. Like the people behind it is kind of more of a message boardy Pez trading thing.
You're talking about Pez the candy, right?
Yeah, like Pez dispensers.
Yeah,
I didn't really trade the candy, but like the dispenser itself.
Yes. You got your Darth Vaders, your Charles Schultz Peanuts characters. Yes.
Yeah. So I
used to love those things, and I had like 20 or 30 of them.
That's how eBay started, basically.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah, so it was like early internet. That's how eBay started. And then eBay opened up to other stuff, but it kind of started with collectibles and whatever. So like, and at the early days, people would start bidding when you put something up. They didn't wait till the end. So like I threw a bunch of records and things or promo items or CD promos that I had up on eBay. And all of a sudden I turned around and I'm like, whoa, in 1 week, I just made what I make in 3 months working at this corporate record store that has nowhere to go in it. Like I'm never going to get anywhere in this place.
No.
So then wrote down, I started looking at auctions and everything that was popular. And I took the money that I made and then I took 1 month's worth of pay and was kind of like, I'm just going to travel around buying up weird promo stuff and rare things that at that time a lot of record stores didn't put, like they didn't really have, there wasn't like had vinyl, but it wasn't like in that collectible way. So I would just go snagging up all this like cheap stuff everywhere and throw it up on eBay. And I kind of did that for a few years. And just like existed off that. And then I quit tape trading. I was doing the zine, but then I was getting so many CDs at that time because I was spending more time writing, but I was also like, oh man, I don't have anything left to say. So I was like, I don't want to do the zine anymore. I'm kind of getting back more into doing like art and stuff. And so I'd taken my eBay money and I had enough money to buy a potter's wheel and a kiln. And I was going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to, really dive heavy back into pottery and ceramics.
This is a turn I was not expecting.
Yeah. So I was like, I had the money to do that, but I was like, oh, I can't just stop doing, again, I have a hard time stopping stuff once I start. So,
Sure.
or I have to figure out a way to like get rid of it or to stop doing it. And at the time I was going to get rid of the zine. So I was like, oh, I'll do a CD comp and that'd be kind of fun. And I just started asking bands and then people just were giving me songs. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll do this. And at first it was going to be a CDR because CDR burners had just happened. They just started. And then
where were you living at this time?
Panama City still.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was, I was more into like focus more on art than anything. And I was kind of getting back into like really like painting and printmaking. And so like I left the record store, stopped doing tape trading, got like, was doing this eBay thing, but then all of a sudden eBay stuff wasn't working because people started figuring out you just bid at the end. And it's like, oh yeah, this isn't really worth doing anymore. And so I was like, yeah, I just do this art. I just kind of do art. And so then I got a job at a frame shop. So I could, be able to frame my stuff without having to really pay for framing and stuff and matting. Again, this whole thing is based on thrift. So
I think you taught that to Jason Nesmith too when he started working at like a print shop just so he could print like concert flyers.
Yeah. I mean, get a job where you can do this stuff.
Use the job for free.
Yeah. And do as much work while you're on that clock as possible because it's not your business. So, I mean, I feel a little different about that now, but at the same time, if it's a corporation, screw them.
Yeah, dude, I used to work for Media Play back in the day. I know the feeling.
Yeah. So, like I want to stop doing the zine. So I do this compilation, but then I'm pricing out how to do this stuff. But I'm working at this, frame shop. I mean, at the time, I don't want to name the company, but I'm framing for a company. And there's all this, like, oh, it's my dog. They have this, like, they've got all this fabric they end up throwing away because there's a fabric department at this giant store that also does framing. And so I would grab all the fabric out of there because I was just learning how to sew too. So I would grab all this fabric out. And then they would have all this like thin, what they call chipboard cardboard, which is like just, super thin, like kind of like a poster board, but it's, like a cardboard.
Sure.
And they have all this chipboard stuff that the mats, if you've ordered fabric mats, it came with a piece of chipboard in front of the fabric. That way it wouldn't get, like indented or like scarred. The mat board wouldn't. So I kept all these sheets of chipboard and I started cutting them into like, I built like my own template to make pocket sleeves. Like,
I was going to say, I have a lot of 7-inches from Happy Happy Birthday to Me records. And what you're describing to me sounds a lot like what you were using to put those 7 inches out.
Basically I would use anything that they were going to throw away. I would repurpose it into packaging. I figured out how to make I would make the templates myself for folding and making my own sleeves. And plus, like, I'd figured out how to work in that thing where like, oh, you're here 40 hours. And then I kind of like looked at the system that they made to do framing. And I'm like, oh, I can do 40 hours of work in 10 hours.
Yeah.
So I would do that and I would be productive and figured out ways to hit my sales goals and how to bump my sales up. So like management was always like, wow, you're doing a really great job. And I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever, this is basic. And then I would just spend the other 30 hours making my own record mailers. Because I had like my first record mailers and I'm like, oh, I can use the machines here and I can cut out my own, all this cardboard we throw away. I can make my own record mailers. And then I was like making packaging and then I would print the packaging myself. And because I was like 30 hours a week. I really didn't have anything to do because I could do all the work in 10 hours a week, really. And as long as the numbers were hitting, they didn't really care what I was doing in the back. Because at the end of the day, they still made their sale. They made above their sales goals, all the stuff, all the customers were happy. And we were performing at a higher rate than other stores. So management was getting their bonuses. So they didn't care if the weird dude that's real quiet in the back that's always got his music going is, cutting out stacks of cardboard. They're kind of like, what is it? So
cost of doing business.
Yeah, it's just that. I'm going to close this door real quick. Sorry, 1 second. Because the dog keeps barking.
Don't Bother Wearing Seatbelts returns with yet another episode featuring Mike Turner. In the second half of our interview, we dive deep into the story behind the legendary Happy Happy Birthday to Me 7-inch singles club, one of the most beloved projects in the Elephant 6 universe. Mike shares how the series came together, the challenges of bringing it to life, and the incredible artists who made it so special, including of Montreal, the Black Swan Network, and many more Elephant 6 favorites. Until then, don't forget about our $1 Patreon, where you can win exclusive prizes through our giveaways while helping us keep our proverbial lights on. And oh yeah, don't forget to do what brings you joy and fulfillment. Maybe listen to some good music too.